Now I want to see now. She's talking about the Smeraldo thing,
The
that whole story. I want to see if she ties it back or not.
Yeah.
Anyway, ready?
Go back.
Are we?
Go back a couple frames. Cool.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Now there's Seokjin. In July, Seokjin saw a girl drop her diary while crossing the railroad tracks. In that diary was her wish list of things to do. He ends up meeting up with her and doing everything she's been wanting, but he never told her that he had her diary. One of the things on her wish list was Smeraldo flowers. Seokjin was able to find a shop who could order those, but they wouldn't be able to get a hold of it until August 30. Seokjin was thinking of confessing his love for her with the flowers while the fireworks bursted in the sky. But that didn't happen. Seokjin was able to receive the bouquet of Smeraldo flowers from the delivery truck. He discovered there was no card in the bouquet and immediately called the owner. I'll make a U-turn now, the light just changed. Before the owner finished his sentence, the girl came into view and began to walk towards him across the road. Then, bam! She got hit by the truck.
Oh,
he
the
travels
truck!
back to save her, which he thought was pretty easy to solve, but
Card's not worth
would
it.
encounter another tragic event with Namjoon on September 30, year 22. Namjoon would end up passing away during a fire inside his container home. Seokjin couldn't figure out how to save him. Each time the loop began, the relationship between him
So it's
and
all
the girl
happening again.
deteriorated.
I am remembering now when I was reading, because like in some of the loops he was saving Namjoon from getting arrested, but then in other loops he was saving Namjoon from dying.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was, or I forgot, or didn't realize that was 5 months
But
later.
this is like a whole separate set of loop.
Yeah.
Because that whole first loop happened for like different
Oh,
storylines.
well, yeah. Let's see. Is there a new reset date?
There is.
It just said.
Go back a little bit. I thought
It was, what was this, September 30?
Let me go back a good ways.
No.
So yeah, because the reset date's April 11th.
Right.
So the Namjoon thing, September.
Yeah.
5 months later. So if he's resetting back to April,
No, I don't think so.
that's it. Poor Jin.
Then, bam! She got hit by the truck.
Wow.
He travels back to save her, which he thought was pretty
He
easy to
travels
solve,
back to
but
save her.
would encounter another tragic event with
He
Namjoon
went back to
on
save
September
her, and
30,
it
year
caused a-
22.
September 30.
Yeah.
Okay, hold
Namjoon
on,
would
hold on.
end with
Sorry.
Namjoon on September would encounter another tragic event with Namjoon on September 30, year 22.
That's the event.
Namjoon would end up passing away during a fire inside his container home. Seokjin couldn't figure out how to save him. Each time the loop began, the relationship between him and the girl deteriorated. They always did what her diary said, but each loop she grew more distant. She asked him for a breakup because Seokjin was becoming strange and that she didn't know him anymore.
See, they're
He then
May.
stopped getting involved with the girl. He ends up giving back her diary and apologizing. The diary acted as a starting and stopping point for them. He tried to become someone else by following everything that diary had, but realized that only being true to himself, he can continue to move forward.
That's the one
From
Epiphany.
this point on, I'm gonna be honest, you guys, it gets confusing even for me.
Now we get
A
confused.
lot more time travels happened, but for this video, I'll try to make it easier to understand and simplify the timeline.
How long did you
Now,
guys
the
do this?
fire at
I know.
Namjoon's place was caused by goons who came to kick everyone out from the container neighborhood.
By
There was a
Jin's dad,
redevelopment
kinda.
plan established, and it would demolish the container neighborhood along with Hosok's orphanage.
Oh.
Seokjin's father was actually part of this plan, along
Right.
with his father's right-hand man named Uncle Junho. No matter what Seokjin did, he couldn't get past September 30, so he made a deal with the cat. He asked the cat how to save Namjoon, and the cat said, "Find the map of the soul. Then you'll be able to end all of this."
Oh, the price.
Instead, there will be a price. We find out later that the price was him losing his memories. And whenever he would try to remember, or if he was in a familiar place, he would get major headaches. Because of this, he was beginning to forget why he was doing all of this in the first place and was losing himself.
Oh, man.
So now he's on a search for the map of the soul. At first, he thought it was in the form of a book and started looking through libraries and bookstores. At one point, he asked Namjoon about it. And of course, Namjoon didn't know. Jimin also overheard Seokjin asking a doctor at the hospital about the map of the soul. Seokjin was actually there to get checkups for his major headaches. But of course, they couldn't figure out why he was getting those headaches. Jimin texted the group asking, "Do you know what the map of the soul is?"
Yeah, I remember this.
Namjoon mentioned that Seokjin also asked him the same thing a couple days ago. So now the rest of the boys decided to try and figure out what is going on with Seokjin. But they left Jungkook out of this group chat since he was still sick and he was in the hospital and they just wanted him to get better. At the same time, Taehyung had also been trying to put the pieces together from his dreams.
Oh, man.
Remember that he's been having dreams of past timelines, and at this point, I feel like he knows what's really going on. So he realized that Seokjin needed their help but wasn't asking for it. Now the boys begin their search for this map of the soul. July 10, year 22. Taehyung told Namjoon about his dreams and that they were somehow linked to reality. One of the dreams was the fire incident at Namjoon's container. It then switched to Seokjin in the middle of a meeting room inside a tall building looking out the window. From his view, across the stream were apartment buildings in Myeonhyun City. He saw a billboard for canned coffee on a building rooftop, and behind it was a commercial building with a four-leaf clover logo displayed on the second floor.
I vaguely remember reading that.
Seokjin phoned someone and said a word or two, then hung up. A moment later, lights turned off in every building. Seokjin smiled. Now, Taehyung and Namjoon go searching for this location for days. During this time, there had been a typhoon as well. After so many days, they realized they couldn't find it because the billboard had not changed yet. So on July 18, the energy drink was replaced with the canned coffee billboard. They found the office of National Assemblyman Kim Chang-jun. It was Seokjin's father. They snuck into the conference room and Taehyung snatched the Seongju City redevelopment plan off a printer. They were able to make it out but got caught and were brought to the police station. Namjoon tried dumping the papers at the police station but later found out reporters had gotten a hold of the documents.
Maybe they'll leak it?
It was then revealed on the news and the documents caused panic amongst Hosok's orphanage
Butterfly effect.
and revealed police overlooking the would-be violence during this redevelopment. July 22, year 22. Jimin remembered a man locked up in the ward at the hospital named Woo Hyun-sung. The man kept saying the map of the soul was wrecked. Yoongi and Jimin went to the hospital to see this man. When the man was asked about the map of the soul, his eyes shone with rage and he screamed convulsively. Because of him, my soul was wrecked. Him. The man he was pointing to was Kim Chang-jun on TV, which was Seokjin's father.
Yeah.
They were thinking there was no way Seokjin's father was somehow involved, but Jimin said the man mentioned something like Giho and that Giho was missing. Jimin mentioned that he heard Woo Hyun-sung was admitted when he was in high school. As Jimin and Yoongi were heading out from the hospital, Jimin's phone went off and it was Jungkook calling. Yoongi shook his head. We keep this between us, away from Jungkook. He has to focus on getting better. We can tell him when it's over. Little did they know, Jungkook actually saw them leaving the hospital, which is why he called Jimin. And Jimin lied to him by saying he was on his way home from Hangwon.
Uh-oh.
Now, while all this is happening and the other boys are looking for the map of the soul, Jungkook had been going over the scenes of the car accident that night. Police had shown him the surveillance camera of the accident. He realized
who
it
is?
was Seokjin's car.
the
But Jungkook
same one from
lied
the
and said
picture?
he doesn't remember anything. At one point, he even asked Hoseok about Seokjin, but Hoseok looked flustered. And this made Jungkook think that Hoseok knew something about Seokjin being involved in the car accident. But it was actually because they were trying to keep him out of the loop with the whole map of the soul.
They're hurting
so he
him
could
more.
recover, so it wasn't
Trying
because
to
of
help him.
them knowing about the car accident, you know? So over time, Jungkook began to believe the boys knew about this accident, but were hiding it from him. Now that the city knew about the redevelopment, the plan for it sped up. Namjoon's boss at the gas station talked about one of Seokjin's father's high school friends who went missing and was never found. Jimin found a blog uploaded 10 years ago titled "The Missing Student from Songju Jail
Is that
High
gonna be
School."
the guy who's
Was
at the-
Principal Jo Jin-myung
At the asylum?
involved?
Right.
No comment was his answer. Taehyung also asked his uncle about Seokjin's father, since they were about the same age. He found out that Seokjin's father, Kim Changjun, went crazy when his friend went missing. One day, Changjun was found collapsed in the music room in the annex, and that was it. He stopped looking for his missing friend. Changjun completely changed after that and had no feelings. Taehyung asked, "Which one is the annex building?" The uncle mentioned that back in the old day, they also used the small building on the left-hand side of the gate. The music room was inside the one-story building. This was the same room the boys made into their secret hideout. Taehyung messaged his new findings in the group chat, saying, "And you know our classroom? It used to be a music room 30 years ago. And something must have happened to Seokjin's father in that room." Jimin told the group chat about the principal, Jo Jin-myung. He thinks he was involved in the case of the missing student, and that he went to school the same time as Seokjin's father. Namjoon went to the Songji City Library to find old newspapers. The missing student's name was Choi Gyu
That
Ho.
little.
The article had an interview with his mother. It said that he left home saying he was going to see a friend. She asked him which friend and why so late, and he said he had to see his friend at school. He definitely looked scared and she didn't know why she didn't stop him. Below the article was the missing student's picture, name, and description of what he was wearing. He was a senior in Songju Jail High School. They began searching the classroom and Jimin pointed on the scribbles. Among so many scribbles were several names. They read Kim Changjun. Jimin pointed to another name, Woo Hyun-sung, the guy at the psychiatric ward. I can't recognize the other names. Yoongi pointed to another name, Choi Gyu-ho, the guy who went missing, right? Namjoon read a sentence below the names. Everything started from here. So Kim Changjun is Seokjin's father. Woo Hyun-sung is the guy at the psychiatric
gone
ward.
missing.
Choi Gyu-ho is
That
the
one.
friend that went missing. Now, they didn't mention or point out the name Jo Jin-myung, who was the principal, but they mentioned that he also went to the same school and that he might have been involved in the case because of the past article. So I don't know if the principal used to be part of that friends thing who also went to the music room, but something happened and he was probably involved.
Sus.
July 24, year 22. 2 weeks ago, they decided to throw Jungkook a party to celebrate him being discharged from the hospital.
Hopefully he's good.
But they completely forgot about it.
Oh,
So
great.
many things have happened since then, and they all ended up showing up late. Hoseok was the last to make it since he had been protesting and fighting in front of the city hall in order to stop the redevelopment.
Yeah.
As soon as he arrived to the party, he went straight for Seokjin and asked him to take Youngji Children's Home out of the redevelopment plan. Seokjin listened without moving a muscle and said, "It's grown-up business." Seokjin scowled and rubbed his temples. He pushed his hand against the wall and stood up. So from the scene, you know he's getting his major headache again. Then he says, "Until when do I have to look after you guys? Can you please learn to do things by yourself?" And Seokjin banged open the door and left.
Man, that's just...
Jungkook watched Seokjin get into his truck and back away. He saw the scratch on his bumper and strangely didn't feel anything. Everything became abundantly clear. So at this point, Seokjin is so frustrated, he's fed up, he's lost himself, he doesn't remember why he's even doing all this in the first place. Seokjin thought that it was a waste of time to attend Jungkook's party instead of going to another redevelopment meeting. He went there in the first place thinking that they were going to talk about the map of the soul, but instead, Hoseok begged him to save the orphanage. We know that Seokjin is going through it and he's no longer himself. At this point, he was no longer trying to save the boys for their sake. He just wanted to find the map of the soul to end the constant loop and basically save himself. But we know he was going through it, so you can't blame Seokjin. August 2, year 22. Seokjin came back to a note on his desk saying, "A draft of your father's memoir. You're in it too, so some feedback would be appreciated." The note was from Uncle Junho, which was his father's right-hand man. It was his first time being asked to read it in this loop. It might have been a butterfly effect from having gone to Jungkook's party instead of the meeting. The wind from the window ended up blowing the papers on the floor. As he began to pick it up, his eyes landed on something interesting. 10 pages were missing, and he flipped to the table of contents, and there he saw the map of the soul. Although he was disappointed because the chapter that was titled Map of the Soul had nothing in it about what the title meant.
When he opened the book,
But
it was
he
blank.
saw the passage. "When I thought about my high school days, I realized the map I've been looking for wasn't a real map with roads or dead ends, directions, and scales. It was just another name for the life I have lived, the countless hours I have lived since then, and the choices I have made. It'd be the trajectory of all my failures, success, mistakes, and blunders. But I failed to find the map. In retrospect, I realized that I landed on the right path because of my failures." Seokjin then remembered what Taehyung had told him. "You have lost your memories." Seokjin ran back into his room and pulled out a box from under the desk and found a couple of photo books and envelopes with Polaroid pictures. He began to look through the pictures and asked himself, did this really happen? When he tried to remember, the headache came back. He stood up and looked at the pile of pictures and gritted his teeth and tried to focus. Fighting against the pain, he tried to remember. Only when he was able to overcome the pain, he will be able to find the trajectory of his life and arrive at the map of the soul. Seokjin texted Taehyung the pictures and asked, did this really happen? Taehyung then texted the group asking, where is everyone? He wanted to gather everyone to help Seokjin remember. August 3, year 22. They brought Seokjin to the storage classroom to help bring back his memories, but he struggled with headaches. Out of frustration and just hurting from this headache, he tried to leave, but Taehyung stopped him. They broke out into a fight and knocked over a wall, revealing a cabinet. Inside the cabinet was a diary. This diary belonged to Seokjin's father. According to the diary, his father had gone through what was happening to him.
I was just about to say
He
that.
made mistakes and blundered, and he tried to undo them over and over again, but he failed. The diary was a record of his failures. After making the deal to save his friends, he was in a time loop. He tried to find the map of the soul, but failed and gave up. He forgot about it and went into denial and betrayed his friends. Seokjin looked up at the wall and remembered seeing his father's name around there, and below it said everything started from here. perhaps it was inevitable that they'd return to this place. Seokjin came back home and the pictures were still strewn on the floor. He still had a throbbing headache, but he knew that pain was the evidence that he was trying to remember what was important to him. Suddenly, people in the pictures seemed to be moving. All of the moments in the pictures were lifted up in the air and were replaying like videos. The whole room shone bright with whirling memories that were sad, wistful, heartbreaking, and joyous. He then realized something was exuding light from his pocket. He took it out. It was a Polaroid picture with clear crumpled lines. He remembered the moment they took the picture. This was the first look ever for the 6 of them to be in the picture without him. Before then, he would use a timer. He looked down at the picture in his hand and the scene started to change slowly. There was Seokjin standing next to his friends in front of the car by the beach. He suddenly remembered the cat and the contract they made. There will be a price to pay. He realized what kind of horrible contract he signed up for. Do you think he could straighten out the errors and mistakes and save all of you? He was finally able to answer the question. The question itself was wrong. He didn't have to save them. He didn't have to straighten out all of the errors and mistakes either. What he had to do was accept all of his errors and mistakes as part of him. The one and only person he couldn't save was himself, and he had to forgive, accept, and love himself. That was the only answer. He then realized all the pain had come to an end. August 7, year 22, Seokjin went into the den and gave his father the diary. His father took the diary and flipped through the pages. Instantly, his face became distorted. A look of pain was on his face now. Seokjin asked his father about the redevelopment plan and to think about it one more time. His father said, "No, it has nothing to do with me now." August 10, year 22. Seokjin had gone through the documents found in the safe inside the inner room. Papers guaranteeing kickbacks from the construction company, slush funds, shabby construction, and profiteering, contract ad libitum, dual contracts, and also papers fabricated to conceal all these illegal dealings. His father had gotten to a place of no return. Seokjin took out his phone and called the reporter who had disclosed the first document concerning the redevelopment plan. Now he had to do what he had to do. Seokjin texted the boys to meet at Namjoon's container. August 11, year 22. They all arrived at the container and sat around the sofa. Seokjin started telling them about what happened back in high school. Seokjin apologized to Yoongi for getting him expelled. Then he began to tell everyone the whole story. Finding out the future misfortunes of everyone after he came back from America, the cat that he met at the beach, the contract to turn back time, and the things he had experienced over and over again since then. The map of the soul, the price to pay, losing his memories. They had no idea whether the sandstorm began while Seokjin was talking or not. As Seokjin continued with the story, the wind became stronger. Everyone ended up closing their eyes, shedding tears from the prickly rain of sand. They couldn't see with their eyes, but they could feel it. As if they experienced it themselves, something flashing as time began to go back, the sound of a window being shattered. In the sandstorm, they finally understood what happened to Seokjin. No one spoke. The sandstorm disappeared without a trace, and the moon hung in the night sky. Soon after Seokjin started telling them his story, all the others looked as if they totally understood what he was saying, except for Jungkook. He thought Seokjin was going to mention the car accident, but didn't. I mean, it remains a mystery until now. Jungkook believes Seokjin was the one who hit him, but Seokjin doesn't remember any of this. During the night of the accident, Seokjin had a major headache and had closed his eyes while he was driving. He then opened his eyes to a loud honking noise and saw headlights in front of him. As a reflex, he turned the wheel and skid against the asphalt. He stepped on the brake and the car crashed into the opposite guardrail and finally stopped. He opened the door and stepped out. The road was empty of cars. The car that was flashing its light was also gone. So we don't know the full story yet. Jungkook believes Seokjin is the one who hit him. But on Seokjin's side, he was probably going crazy. He thought he saw a car, but there was no car. Maybe the dent in front of his truck that Jungkook saw was actually a mark from the guardrail he hit and not him hitting a person. But when Jungkook saw the surveillance camera, he saw Seokjin's car. So I don't know. There's something missing. There's something else going on with that, but we'll eventually find out. August 20, year 22. They put a stop to the redevelopment plan and arrested the people involved in the corruption. His father was not an exception. Uncle Junho, which was the right-hand man, had disappeared right after news of his involvement went out. August 22, year 22. A drunk man harassed Namjoon when he came home from work. "Everything is ruined because of you," he said. "You talked Seokjin into this, didn't you? You ruined everything." The drunk man kept babbling about things, but Namjoon couldn't understand. August 25, year 22. Seokjin went to Namjoon's container home and found Uncle Junho with a gasoline canister at his feet. A fire erupted from the container. Not long after, Namjoon arrived and ran towards the burning container. He jumped over the flames and threw himself against the container door. The little kid, Woo Chang, was still inside. He had been taking care of this kid for a couple of months now, and so this kid was stuck inside a burning container. Just when they were about to escape through the door, construction materials ended up falling and blocking their way out. Namjoon turned and saw Seokjin through the window. They were able to pull open the window to rescue the kid and Namjoon. August 30, year 22. The boys were finally gathered once again for the annual firework festival. They watched the fireworks light up the sky and fall limply down back to the stream. Everyone seemed to be enjoying the show except for Jungkook, who was looking down at his phone and playing a shooting game. Jungkook, come and see me at the workroom after
shooting game,
school.
like 6 people died.
Yoongi said. If I get time, Jungkook spat out in response and started a new game. So at this point, Jungkook is just out of it. He feels like the boys are lying to him. He is so sure that Seokjin is lying to him as well, and it was the one who hit him with the truck. So it's not looking good. There's this like burning, growing rage and anger inside of him that will be an issue. September 27, year 22. At today's court first hearing, Seokjin's father admitted to all charges and gave up his right to defend himself. As he was walking out of the courtroom, he turned and looked at Seokjin. He looked peaceful and calm, a look that Seokjin had never seen before. And for a fleeting moment, there was a sense of lightheartedness in his expression. Seokjin was seeing that expression for the first time, but he knew that was his father's true face. He came home and ran to the inner room. His father's diary from high school was on the desk. He had written, "I found the map of the soul. Everything ends here and now." That was basically the end of the Notes 2 book. We did get an odd entry, but with no date. This was the last entry in the Notes book. The odd thing about this is that it's when Jungkook got into a car accident, which is supposed to be on May 22, year 22, and it's almost like the same entry. But this time, the dates is all X's. And Now, during the time of the accident, Jungkook heard a voice say, "Living is going to be more painful than death, but do you still want to live?" It was the cat with blue and green eyes, the same cat that made the deal with Seokjin. But unlike the first note that we got with a date, this one mentioned that Jungkook remembered hearing this from somewhere. So this wasn't the first time, and this has happened more than once. But that's all we've gotten so far, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this updated BTS storyline summary video.
My God.
If you did enjoy it, make sure to click the like button and also join the Fleur Squad by subscribing, you guys. Thank you so much for watching.
I feel like
Kudos,
I feel like that cat needs to stop coming around people.
That cat needs to go.
Dang cat.
Like, is the cat helping or hurting?
I was about to cry in part of that. I'm
I know, man. What a story.
Like who has the ending of this? That's what I want to know. It's like they have the end. I know, no, but the writer.
Yeah.
Like I bet you the writer has the end, and they're like, okay, we're right here. We got to get from here to here with 7 storylines. So, oh my gosh, that is so much.
I feel like that we kind of thought that Jin's father had the same experience.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But seeing it play out made a lot more sense.
There were like hints because
yeah.
he like his notebook and like the notes. So, but like whenever it started showing like the names of people or like the names on the and like he also hung out in that same
wall.
room 30 years prior.
Too many coincidences, right?
Yeah. Man. So this cat has been around.
This cat's old.
I know. So and then
That's a lot.
I don't even know where to start. I had forgotten about the whole thing. So I remember the whole thing with Jungkook being like disconnected, but it makes the way she presented it here makes more sense as to why. Because all these different stories we read, but all pieced together, like he felt like he was being left out.
Yeah.
They were doing it to protect him and to help him.
Right. So,
But he saw it as like,
I feel like what they're alluding to, what she's alluding to, or the story's alluding to, is that they're all having these experiences of like living out dreams or something. Or like Taeyong did it. Jin's obviously been doing it.
well, with Tae, he's like having dreams of them. I don't know if that means he's in a loop or he's just remembering past timelines that Jin lived.
How?
Right?
They're connected somehow.
It's like there's a connection somehow. He's like
Unknown.
having memories of when Jin would go through these loops. And it's like, I remember
Jin's
doing
losing
that.
his memories.
And V's getting
V's
Yes.
like dreaming
Retaining
them.
dreaming them.
Through
But now-
Jin's perspective?
Maybe.
No, and I don't think through Jin. I think he's
Maybe
just
his own
remembering.
perspective.
It's like his own perspective, but remembering Jin doing certain things, or let's say,
Yeah.
like,
Jin's
oh,
like,
but you were there, you were there, you were there, you know, whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
And then now this with Jungkook saying he had remembered that from some time before, that same line.
The whole idea, it's such a crazy dilemma. Like, it's such a crazy concept of like, you have a chance to save your friends. You're going to be in this
But
time loop.
you're gonna lose
right?
yourself.
Yeah.
But then eventually you get stuck in it. So you need another way. You need help because
Yeah.
you can't figure it out. I can help you, but
There's a
you're
price.
gonna lose your memories. So then you have to work quickly because you start to lose your memories. You figure out why you've been doing it, and you just kind of lost. And then eventually it's just suffering, and you just do it. You just want to get out of it for yourself. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're
And
stuck.
I think that we had thought he was in distress because he was trying to save them.
It made
But
it-
then getting to this point,
Where
he's
he's
like,
just kinda
I'm
lost.
over it. I'm lost.
Like,
I'm
help
doing
yourselves.
it for, yeah. Like he lit the flower petals on fire at one point, and
Yeah.
we were like, "What are you doing?"
And then
it's
Jin
like,
sat next to, or
It's like, I'm done.
Tay sat next to
Yeah.
him on the platform and did this, and he was like that,
Like,
yeah.
and we were like, wait, what?
It's just
And
'cause
I didn't put two and two together. He had, it's like he knows who Tate is, but he's more like imagine being in a constant state of just confusion and just like the mental.
yeah. Well, I think at one point he
toll.
realizes like they have essentially become the cause of why he's like this crazy
Yeah.
feeling now.
Well,
It's
and
like,
then-
can't you
well-
help yourselves? Can't you do anything for yourselves?
Well,
Like,
he had gone through all this suffering, and they
Yeah.
get together,
And
and,
then it's
Hobie
like-
comes in. He's like, "Hey, can you?" Because part of the plans were also the orphanage, and where Hobie grew up, spent 10 years. He was like, "Can you
like,
also
save
fix
it.
that? Can you save that too?"
He's like,
And
"I
he's
can't
like,
do it all."
I've been doing that, and then he starts getting a headache.
yeah.
So it's like on top of that, he's losing the memory.
oh
now.
boy,
Man.
Dang.
that is a lot. My brain is
Yeah,
been
yeah.
exercising.
And so now, and then what's happening now with Jungkook and the cat is like the cat said, "Do you want to live?" And so
This cat's like, if you want to live, but there's gonna be a price.
the price, he's like, "My legs are broken. As long as I'm not in this pain." So maybe there's like a continuation of the
That's
story.
making him hate Jin.
I
He
know.
thinks Jin hit
What if
him.
there's like dual timelines happening?
Oh my god.
Jin's in a reset, and now Jungkook's in a reset.
It's too much. I can't.
Too many
keep up.
timelines.
So it
Too
never
many
really
timelines.
clarified. I'm pretty sure he would go that deep into the timeline, and it would reset again.
Are you sure? No wonder he's feeling crazy.
Because I've seen
I'm
April
feeling
11th
crazy.
a lot.
Yeah,
I haven't
yes.
seen.
I have.
say?
I'm like, hey, bro, did I Y'all fall asleep again? Like, April 11th. If you know, you know.
Man. Yeah, because
I had mentioned it a lot. Yeah.
Because I think the same things were happening, but in different, like way different days. Like RM again was in the container on fire, but for different reasons at a different time.
Right.
But that's the thing. It has. How do you? Well, that's why he said, "How do I get out of the loop?" But then, how long do they all have to be living fine for there not to be a loop again?
Right. Like, is it like, well, something bad just happens and then boom, you gotta
This
do
is
a
one of
loop
those
again?
crazy, like this concept.
He's
There's
out,
those.
dang it.
This is why I
What's
get
that show? There's shows that like do like these crazy sci-fi things that they're just like mind melting.
Well, that's how I am when there's like, it gets to a point for me when there's just too many ends that I have to check out because I'm like, it gets me crazy.
Now you have a headache like Jen?
Or yeah,
She's like, I'm forgetting everything.
or like I'll tell him because Daniel really loves like time travel concepts and everything like that.
Yes.
But then it gets too complicated. And then I tell him, I'm like, I don't like this concept because there's no rules.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I mean,
I'm like,
There
there's
needs to be a box, and they're just out of the box.
Well, okay. There are rules. You can't. It's not just all willy nilly.
Yeah,
is,
you
it's
don't talk to your
irrational.
past self.
Well, that's the thing though.
one rule.
There's like two approaches to like time travel. One is like you go
I've
back
heard this
and it
story
creates
before.
it changes your present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in a new timeline now.
No, that's the other one.
Oh,
So the
I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
yeah. So like the Marvel movies. Well, like, okay, so like you go back, you change something, it creates a separate timeline where
Yeah.
they fix stuff, but the timeline where things were all broken is still
It's
there.
still there.
Mm-hmm.
So in that approach with this Jin, there's existing hundreds of timelines,
Thousands at this point.
and some of them, 4 of them aren't alive, 3 of them are alive. All the ones that are reset,
So they just all jump on a
Dang.
new timeline.
or with this one, it seems more like okay, you're not just going back in time; it's literally resetting time.
The time.
So then there's only one.
Like Back to the Future.
I
Master
like
timeline.
that. That's easier for my brain to comprehend.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easier because like anything that you do now is going to affect one future,
Yeah.
and so it's just a little. Once you start breaking things apart, it gets a little more confusing.
Yeah, that's true.
But time travel, where it gets confusing is like he goes back to April 11th, and I don't want to get too deep.
No,
into this,
do it.
But like it's like if he goes back to April 11th, like to the gas station with RM.
Yeah.
And then on like May 10th, he goes back to April 11th. Does he see the first version of him at the gas station pull up, and now he's watching himself pull up to see RM? And
Nah, too
Oh,
much.
I
Too
don't think
much.
that one's doing this because otherwise he shows up to the gas station and there's 700 gins. He's like, oh, I've been doing this.
They're like,
He's like the Spider-Man.
He's like,
Right.
"Hey."
I must have been here before.
Yeah, so no, this one isn't that. It's a whole reset. But
It's
a lot
a whole
of
reset.
that's where time travel becomes confusing when you go back and see yourself. Then it's like,
that's the Back to the Future.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
once
yes,
we get
correct.
more things added to the story,
That was
we're
like the
caught
Flash.
up now.
and Flash 2 does that.
So we'll be able to understand now
Yeah.
that little nuggets
It-
are
it-
added
it's
and
like-
not like
In a way,
Fire
it's,
hose.
in a way, it's cool that it's not done because now we're caught up with
Yeah.
Army, and there's not things that they know that we don't, unless there's other theories and stuff.
Probably.
I mean, someone out there has read everything.
I mean,
Like,
I
several
think
times.
their level, I think
has.
the level of understanding, they're probably way
For sure, but
better.
they don't have the answers that we also don't have.
Right.
And so it's gonna be cool. Like I can imagine a day where we're all just hanging out, and then on Discord they're like, "Oh my god, they just dropped
just
a
dropped a
video.
BU.
That's another BU thing."
I'm just
oh
like,
god.
Like
meet at the studio, stat.
I know.
stat now. Text each other like they did.
Like, where is everyone?
Where is everyone?
Yeah.
Like, I'm at work,
Meet
but
up
I'll
at
be
the
there.
place.
I have a headache.
I have a headache.
That'd be Abby. Did you drink water? Yeah.
Yesterday.
Speaking of, I need to drink water right now.
Same.
You should do that.
Wow. Okay. Well, now this, for now, concludes our
BU.
Bangtan Universe journey.
BU
It has a big to be continued. Dot.
for everyone.
Yes.
For that
For
matter.
all of us. Yeah.
I'm glad we watched that. That was
That was nice. The music was great.
I mean,
yeah. I was emotional. I was getting goosebumps.
I know. And it was going deeper and deeper and deeper, and I was like trying to remember all the details. Like, okay, wait. And the importance of the pairings.
Yes.
in all the MVs, it makes sense. Because whenever Jin was trying to save them all, it was like crucial that he had to talk to someone to
because
talk to
they
someone.
had to help save this person, and they had to
It
help
couldn't
save
be
this
him
person.
directly every time. Yeah.
Y'all, now I'm curious about her Patreon. She's gonna have like a whole tier of like BU explanations.
I know, right?
Let's join.
Right.
I am glad to put a little bow and a ... on this, because now we can go back to the actual members.
The real people.
and not the sad
that are
stories.
all okay.
Tragic, stress-filled.
know.
Like,
I know.
can anything good
I
ever happen?
I know that I think the K-drama is already been announced. I don't know if there's a release date or anything with it, but I'm curious how that's going to be received and how well it's going to be done. And it'll
When
be
is
weird.
that? When is that release?
I don't know.
Oh, you know.
It'll be weird to see like different actors portray those names.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So,
I know.
but it'll still be really
That's
cool.
not you. Okay.
Yeah.
Anywho, cool. Well, if you're still here, that means
Why?
you really enjoy the BU or enjoy us. One of the two.
Yes.
But thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching. We have another fun video, a little bit more lighthearted, good time coming this Saturday. So be on the lookout for that. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you didn't skip through, we are continuing our album review journey next week.
Finally.
Guess below which one it is.
That was the
if you remember
video
the last
from
one.
Tuesday. You mentioned it on Tuesday.
I did mention it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Today's Thursday. Everybody knows that. Cool. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Consider subscribing to our channel. We're also on Patreon, Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. Check us out over there. Otherwise, we'll be back, as I said, in 2 days for our next video. Until then, we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.